What's up, guys? Welcome to Group Coach Nation. So I have Victoria Garcia with me today. And Victoria, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. I know you're a busy person. So Victoria and I got to know each other a couple weeks ago, and she empowers a very large audience of women from Latin America or with a Latin American heritage. Am I correct?
Correct. Yes.
Really guiding a way for them to figure out like how to navigate this market, this space, this thing of being, particularly here in the US, and how to bring equality to that market. So we got talking more and more and more about this. There's so much to talk about here, but there's also so much that I hear from other entrepreneurs in my circles. I'm sure many of you do too. And how do we, particularly if we're American born, raised, and that's our heritage, how do we engage another culture? How do we market to another culture? How do we recognize the dreams, drains, and doubts of another? There's just so much here that yours truly is absolutely not qualified to talk about. So thank you for being here with us, Victoria. Like, we can go anywhere you want with this conversation. I so appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me on your podcast, Chris. I appreciate your time, and I don't take this opportunity lightly and to speak on I guess just I feel like I am representing not only Latinas but the Hispanic market as a whole, because there's a lot of things that are misunderstood, and I hope that I can represent my community accurately.
I really appreciate that. And it's so we're really vulnerable here on our show. So you do what you want. It's vulnerable for me. This is how ignorant I think I am, and so many people like me. It's vulnerable for me to even introduce you, because my introduction to you, even as much as we've already talked about this, I'm insecure that did I say it wrong? Did I use the wrong terms? Did I did I already break the trust of just human to human connection because it's so obvious I'm in my own bubble? And I think more and more with all of us in today's culture, hopefully we realize that we've all been in some sort of bubble, and we got to get out and get to know somebody else and see what's really going on and see how we can all make the world a better place. So where do you want to go with this? Like, tell me some stats. Like, give me some background of like what's represented here in the Latina market, in particular here in the United States, or just worldwide, however you want to take that. What kind of numbers are we talking about? How big is this population you're representing?
Well, the population is huge and it's ever growing, but I did want to comment on what you just said because it's important to comment on that, because you are definitely not the first person who has said that there's a little bit of fear, maybe even anxiety of like getting terms wrong, or like, am I utilizing the right word? Am I utilizing the right pronunciation? And so I just want you to know that I appreciate you being mindful, that that goes a long way, and I feel that. Thank you. And I also want to say that even within the Hispanic market, there's confusion on terms sometimes, just because like there's all these new words coming at us, so it becomes like ever more complicated to curate an identity that makes sense for us. So let me give you an example. A few years ago, the term Latinx entered the market, and that caused a lot of uproar in the Hispanic community, especially in, I would say, more traditional Hispanics, meaning like I would say first generation, or maybe like second, third, fourth, fifth. They're much more removed from their home countries. So a term like Latinx was created to remove gender from the words Latina and Latino, because Latina refers to a female. And of course, the Spanish language has gender involved in it.
Right.
So, in order to remove gender from the word, that's where Latinx came in. But then a lot of Hispanics felt offended by that, because they're like, how dare you change our language? Like, who are you to think that you can change our language? But then maybe like second, third, fourth generation Latinos are like, well, we're just trying to make it more inclusive to all the people who don't identify as female or male, or they want to take out the nuance of like, am I referring to a female or am I referring to a male? So anyway, whatever. It became this whole complicated thing. And then there's a lot of confusion as well with the word Latina or Latino or Hispanic. Or sometimes even people get weird about the word Mexican. And so, in a nutshell, so your audience can understand, the word, like if someone refers to themselves as Latin, or like I refer to myself as Latina. So that is anyone from Latin America. Now, I am also Hispanic because Hispanic encompasses Latin America and Spain. So someone from Spain is not Latino, but they are Hispanic. But because in Mexico, particularly, and yes, some parts of South America, there's so much blending of Spain and that country of origin, a lot of us do have Spanish roots, which is why, because of course, Spain conquered the Americas. That's why Spanish is spoken. And so there's just so many different words and so many different terms. And at the end of the day, what I always suggest to people is find a term that works for you and just own it unapologetically without being weird about it. And then you will give permission to the people around you to utilize that term when they're referring to you as well.
And just to clarify, you mean find a word that works for you that represents you in your own culture, not find a word that works for you speaking about someone else's culture.
Correct.
Just making
And
sure
when
everybody understood that. Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely, and thanks for clarifying because yeah, I think when referring to someone else, I do think it's important to do what you did, which was you were just clarifying and asking questions and being like, is this okay? Did I write this correctly? Did I say this correctly? Because some people are very particular about that. And so yeah, it's important on the side where people do not identify as Hispanic, they don't identify as Latino, to just seek to clarify, seek to understand, seek to have empathy, which is exactly what you did. And that immediately puts people's walls down. And then on the Hispanic side, if you identify as Latinx, okay, own it. That's just the title that you identify as, and that's okay. So it's a very nuanced and complicated culture, which is why I think there's sometimes a lot of confusion and doubt and sometimes even fear a little bit. But we're starting to be more vocal about our community. And I think ultimately that's why I'm here today.
I love this. And I love this. Just on so many levels. Okay. I'll shut up. What about me? Okay. I'd love to dive into any direction you want to go, but I'm really curious about two directions that I think are similar, but they look really different to many of us. We're all entrepreneurs here. Everybody here is an author, coach, expert, speaker, some kind of thought leader in their own space, building group coaching, mastermind models, whatever we do here. Okay. It's in most of our hearts in my community. There's wonderful people. All of you are just so great to want to include world cultures from all backgrounds in what we do as professionals and bring equality for ourselves and for others. That's one side. Then there's the side of just we're entrepreneurs and we got stuff to sell and things to market. So there's these two like spaces to fill. One is how to bring equality and inclusion, and the other is how to sell my stuff to someone who's not like me, right? I don't know where you want to go with that or how you want to tackle it, if you want to go a different direction, but I'm really fascinated about those things. And you have such a strong grasp on both of those topics.
Yeah. So I think the answer to that is hands down partnerships and collaborations, especially if you want to reach a market that you are just simply and frankly not a part of. However, you want to, I don't know, tap into that market or connect with that market. You have to bring someone in who is a part of that community and collaborate with that person. So I will give you an example. Last year, there was an opportunity that just fell onto my lap where I was given the opportunity to be a bilingual consultant for a company that had an employee whose primary language was Spanish. And this consulting company had no consultant on their team who spoke Spanish. And so they were like, okay, in order to better serve this client and in order to better serve this employee who needs business and leadership consulting, we need to bring on someone who speaks her language, but not only speaks her language, understands her culture, understands where she's coming from, and is able to translate the culture over to management, essentially. So I was basically asked to come on and be this consulting company's bilingual consultant for companies like theirs. They manufacture plastics. Companies like theirs who have Hispanic team members who prefer to receive coaching and consulting and leadership in the language of their heart, which is in this case Spanish. And so I was a consultant for this company for almost a year, and I saw this woman flourish and blossom and bloom because she felt understood. So to answer your question, Chris, I think with companies who want to reach any market, it doesn't have to be Hispanic, and it can be, I don't know, Ethiopian, Colombian, Peruvian, whatever, any market that they want to reach that they're not a part of, find someone in that market that you can collaborate with and get to know them, ask them questions, develop relationships, develop empathy, and then work on projects together to be able then to offer those to the public at large. A perfect example of this is Target. Target has been able to partner with a lot of creatives from different backgrounds, and usually during like Black History Month or Hispanic Heritage Month, you'll see all these like super cool new products from these, these smaller businesses that have partnered with Target to reach a specific audience. Like Target is a brilliant example of what smaller business owners can do if they want to reach these communities that they don't, not only are they not a part of, they just don't understand.
I love this. Okay, let me just, for all of you out there, Group Coach Nation world, let's just open our minds up for a second to broadening this conversation to lots of different uses for all of us. Because we all show up, and I'm no different. I want the answer for the problem, because it's hard to think bigger picture, but let's think bigger picture, because that's what we're here to do. The things you're telling us, I believe, can be translated into any cultural differences that we're trying to grow into, understand, market to, relate to, whatever. It could be over race, gender, religion, politics, what kind of vehicle you drive, what your views on world economy, whatever. If there's someone different than you taking what Victoria's teaching us and applying that, is really wise, because it broadens your perspective. You're going to learn something new. You might meet an awesome person, and you might make the world a better place in the process. So way to go. Okay. All right. Keep going. So how do we, when you said partnerships and JVs, I honestly never thought of that. That kind of hits both sides of where I started with. How do we bring equality, and how do we figure out ways to market to each other? Like a partnership and a JV gives us an open dialogue about both of those things and so many more things.
Yes, absolutely. So wait, what's your question here?
No, I didn't have a question. I was just loving what you're saying. Okay, so how big is the market of Latinas in particular, or the Hispanic / Latino market here in the States? Like how big is this market?
So the GDP for Latinos in the United States right now totaled 2.8 trillion in 2020. I mean, the GDP for our market is huge. It's tremendous. And we have a lot of spending power because I can't speak for all of Latin America. I'm from Mexico. I'm, like I said, first generation Mexican American, raised by very traditional Mexican parents in Colorado. And I can speak on behalf of the Mexican culture when I say this. We are really good at making money and we're really good at saving it for the things that really, really matter to us. We have no problem spending extravagantly on things we love and value. Again, let me give you another example. So for example, in the Mexican community, quinceañeras, the celebration of a woman or a girl turning 15 years old, which is kind of like the transition from girl into womanhood. I mean, people spend almost as much on a quinceañera as they would on a wedding. It's insane.
Wow.
And yeah, the quinceañeras are very expensive, but because it's a part of the culture, a lot of these families, they don't mind dropping down thousands of dollars to celebrate their daughter's 15-year-old birthday. And so we have the spending power. We have a lot of influence as well. And we are, I don't want to say passively waiting. We're almost like anticipating who's going to speak to us, what business is going to speak to us, and how can we feel seen and identified in this product, and then lean into that product and be like, oh my gosh, yes, I feel seen by this. I am going to lean into this business. I don't know if you saw the movie. You should see it. Highly recommend it. Recommend it to your audience as well. On Hulu, the movie Flamin' Hot
I've not
is,
seen it.
oh
Okay.
my gosh, Chris, you have to go watch it. I mean, it captures our story of Mexican Americans perfectly. It's
Really?
just like, if you
Okay.
want to learn about the Mexican market in the United States, go watch Flamin' Hot on
I
Hulu. It is
I am pulling it
so
up on
good.
my computer right now so I won't forget. Okay. Got it.
In a nutshell, it's a story of this man who was a janitor working at Frito-Lay, and he got really scrappy. He got very entrepreneurial, because that's another thing about our market. We are extremely creative. We're very scrappy. And at our core, we are entrepreneurial people, because we have to be, truthfully. And
Yeah.
so he got very scrappy when things started kind of going south for the company. And he saw an opportunity that changed the trajectory of that business forever. So the opportunity he saw was the Hispanic market opportunity. I don't want to like ruin it too much, but there was this scene in the movie where he was eating with his children after school, and he noticed that a lot of the Hispanics around him were putting like spicy chili pepper on everything. They were putting it on their fruit. They were putting it on their elote, their corn. They were putting it on their chips. And he's like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what Frito-Lay should do. Like, they should come out with products with chili pepper on them, because that's what we do. He's like, we put chili pepper on everything. And then, of course, like the Flamin' Hot Cheetos brand. I mean, there's so many chips out there that have chili pepper on them. It's just, like, it went on to make some insane amount of money. I don't remember. It says at the end of the movie, like, it brought in 1 point whatever trillion dollars. I don't know, just this massive amount
Yeah.
of money that came into the company, just because this one man was bold and brave enough to bet on his own market. And that's exactly what it is. We have to be bold and brave enough to bet on ourselves, and to encourage other business owners to bet on us as well.
I am so like thrilled to hear that. Because that's me. Like, it's just so human. I love it when another company or another cause or some idea leader out there like recognizes me, and I feel heard and felt. I'm like, oh my gosh, they get me, and this is my, like, they just gave me a place, and they gave me the products to support the place, and they gave me the instructions to support. Like, I get it. Like, we're just humans. Huh.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Okay, how are you like Victoria Garcia? How are you spending your time investing in other humans like yourself to change whatever it is they want change in? We talk a lot about hopes and dreams and doubts and things like that here at Group Coach Nation. Like, what's somebody really trying to accomplish, and then what are they actually trying to? I'm being distracted here. If I can turn my camera, I don't know if this will work. I'm in a car with a glass roof. For those of you listening in right now, I'm on the road, and there a mama bird feeding a baby bird on the glass right there above the camera. Sorry for the distraction.
I
How are
love
you?
that.
I know. I was like, if I can get the camera, but I think they saw me. What are you doing to make a difference in the people you're serving? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for asking. So in 2020, I found out that of all the racial groups in the United States, Latinas have the biggest wage gap. And this truly, I think the initial emotion I felt was anger. This truly pissed me off, because I knew that the women in my life who are Latinas, these are highly educated women, highly competent, capable, loyal, hardworking, and smart working women. And I was like, how is it? It literally doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, how is it that Latinas are making basically the least amount of money of all the racial groups in the United States? I just was horrified, angry, and confused. I just didn't understand this statistic. And so I started doing some research about it. And sure enough, I found out that, yeah, it's unfortunately true. So I started making a lot of noise about this back in 2020. I created a community back in 2020 that I called Latinas Who Dare, because I wanted to dare Latinas to close their own wage gap, to do something about taking control over their finances, and also standing in their power, standing in their worth, claiming their value, and just being like, yes, I am valuable, and I deserve to make X amount of money. And also like learning how to negotiate all these things that I realized maybe we don't know how to do, or maybe we do know how to do it, but we don't feel like we're worthy enough of asking for what we want. I'm like, I have no idea, but I want to find out. And so I started hosting a lot of live events that were, I guess, designed to support and empower local Latina entrepreneurs. I'm based in Colorado, so I focused on empowering Latina entrepreneurs in Colorado, and I would host these events where these women could set up their tables and, sell their products on site, promote their services on site. I only partnered with Latina-owned businesses. So if I needed catering, I would hire a Latina caterer. If I needed someone to make drinks, I would look for someone who had like a beverage business who was Latina. Like I was like, how can we keep the money within our community and grow it? How can we support and empower each other? How can we I don't know, send business to one another? I'll send business to you. You send business to me. Let's talk about investments. Let's talk about money. Let's talk about what it means to make money as a woman, as a Latina, as a wife, as a mother, because there's all these like beliefs and nuances in the Hispanic community about like when a Latina becomes a wife or a mother, it's like, is she still allowed to be a millionaire? Is she still allowed to be successful? Am I allowed to be a mother of 5 and a millionaire at the same time? So all these like, very almost taboo topics, I was like, let's talk about it. Let's lay it out on the open, and let's work and collaborate as a community of Latinas leveling up, and like, let's make things happen. So I've been running this community. I've been mentoring, coaching these women since 2020. And I'm actually formally relaunching, I guess, this community in September. I'm launching it as the Latina owned collective. It's going to be a membership community for, again, Latinas who are committed to leveling themselves up. And I want to highlight the and they're committed to leveling up their friends, or their amigas. Amigas is friends in Spanish. Because I want this to be not like a me, myself, and I thing, but I want this to be like, let's grow together. Let's thrive together. Like I fly, you fly at the same time and at the same height, not like you fly above me, and none of that. And I don't want the pettiness and the competitiveness. One of our core values is collaboration over competition. And so that's what I've been doing, I guess, for the Hispanic market, specifically for Latinas, not only because I am one, but because I'm so tired of seeing a lot of these women get taken advantage of. And I'm just like putting my foot down and saying, absolutely not. Stand in your power, stand in your worth, own your value, claim it, and know that you're worthy of having the life that you desire to have. Even if you're first generation, even if you're from whatever country, I don't care what country you're from, you have the same rights and opportunities as anyone else.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's so awesome. I love what you're doing. I love your energy, and I love like how empowering you are. Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
great to just soak that up. So this starts in September?
Correct. Yeah, that's
Okay.
when we're going to do our launch.
I know we're over time. Are you still okay for a few minutes?
Yes.
Okay. So just break this down, because we love geeking out about group coaching models and community models and all that kind of stuff. So is this going to be a virtual thing, or just in the local area you're in, like in Colorado, let's say? Are you like, how big are you making this?
Yeah. So right now, while we get our systems and processes and operations down and ironed out, we're going to be focusing on the Colorado market. And as soon as, because I have 2 girls who are part of my leadership team, and the 3 of us are working, it seems like around the clock behind the scenes, to get all these wrinkles ironed out in our systems and processes. So we do want to launch nationwide. We do want this to be like so beyond Colorado. And my dream is also to make this international. Like, how incredible would it be to bring on these women from different countries? But as of now, we're launching in Colorado. And it's one of those, like, stay tuned for when we are able to launch nationwide, because I would love to host like this, maybe like a once a year event, bring people to Colorado, because for the Hispanic market, people don't normally think of Colorado. They think of like Miami, they think of LA, they think of maybe, I don't know, Houston, Chicago. But I want to bring more Latinas to Colorado, because I feel like there's so many of us here, and we're just like, hey, don't forget about us. So I was like, how cool would it be if like we did this once a year big conference at like the convention center, where people traveled here and we're able to like meet and collaborate beyond just Colorado. So
Holy cow. This is really, really great and inspiring. You're doing something, honestly, Victoria, that is a little scary to me. And I so respect you for what you're doing, because you're actually creating something that is a movement, not just a product or a service. And it is a product and service and gets people where they want to go, but you're making it more than just about you and the person you influence. You're making it about multiple generations of influence.
correct.
That's world changing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And
Thank you. Talking about, thank you. Oh my gosh. Anything else you want to say? We got to go here in a second. Anything else you want to say to either the Latinas out there listening in, or the non-Latinas who you want to leave them with something? Either way you want to go.
Yeah. So I want to share this quote that Claudia Romo Edelman shared. She is a Hispanic, I don't know, powerhouse influencer. You can look her up on LinkedIn. I follow her. I love all of her content. And Sandra Velasquez, who is the CEO and founder of Nopalera, another Latina-owned business that I love and follow and support. So Sandra Velasquez shared Claudia's quote, and that's what I wanted to end this call today with, because I really love it. So again, this is a quote from Claudia Romo Edelman. She said, "In the United States today, there are more tortillas sold than bread and more salsa sold than ketchup. 80% of the US population enjoys Mexican food weekly, and Latino music is leading the top charts nationwide. Hispanic culture is shaping global culture. This presents a golden opportunity for marketers to not only capture the Latino market, but also attract the broader audience by embracing Latino values and culture." And I just was like, yep, mic drop. So, so true.
So true, and great stats around that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Victoria Garcia. You can find her for Instagram at Latina Owned Collective. Make sure I get that right. I'm going to spell that out for you listeners. LATINAOWNED So Latina Owned Collective on Instagram. Oh my gosh, Victoria, thanks for impacting me in a very, very real way today. I truly, truly appreciate your time, your expertise, your intentionality, I want to say the careful way you're actually structuring a real shift in culture and the way you're engaging your market. Thanks for educating us.
Absolutely, Chris. And thank you for the opportunity to be here and for giving me a platform. I appreciate you and your time as well. So muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias.